When one of the greatest players in WNBA history steps to a microphone and says the quiet part out loud, you stop everything and listen? Lisa Leslie, 4-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time WNBA champion, the woman who defined what this league could be. She didn't have to say a single word about Caitlin Clark. She had nothing to prove and nothing to gain, but she said it anyway. And what she said ripped the mask completely off the WNBA establishment, exposing the jealousy, the targeting, and the coordinated effort to make sure one player never felt comfortable in this league. This isn't a hot take. This isn't media noise. This is a legend looking directly at the people running and playing in this league and saying, "You are embarrassing everything we built. Stick with me." Because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this moment changes everything. Let's be honest with each other for a second. There are certain people in sports whose opinion carries actual weight, not Twitter weight, not podcast weight, legacy weight, the kind built over decades of sacrifice, dominance, and credibility that no one can question. Lisa Leslie is that person for the WNBA. She is the WNBA to an entire generation of fans. She carried this league on her back before most of the day's players were in middle school. So when Lisa Leslie decides to speak publicly about what's happening to Caitlin Clark, you don't dismiss it. You don't spin it. You listen. And what she said was not subtle. Leslie made it clear that the treatment Caitlin Clark has received, the hard fouls, the targeting, the deliberate physical punishment that went unchecked, was not just rough basketball. It was something more calculated, more personal. She used a word that stung because it was true: jealousy. Think about that for a moment. A 4-time Olympian, a player who spent her entire career trying to grow this league's audience, looked at the current state of the WNBA and said the veterans and the front office culture have allowed jealousy to become a weapon aimed at the one player bringing in millions of new fans. That is not a small accusation. That is a structural indictment. And here's what made it land even harder. Leslie didn't come in swinging recklessly. She came in measured, deliberate, and credible. She acknowledged Clark's talent. She acknowledged the growing pains of the league. But then she drew a line and said, there is no justification for what has been allowed to happen. The WNBA spent years begging for mainstream attention. The sports networks, casual fans, corporate sponsors. The league wanted all of it desperately. And then Caitlin Clark arrived and delivered every single thing the league had been chasing for decades, almost overnight. And instead of protecting that investment, instead of celebrating it, elements within the league tried to tear it down. Leslie saw it, and she refused to stay quiet. Now, some veterans and media voices immediately pushed back. They said Leslie was exaggerating. They said the physicality was normal. They said Clark needed to earn her stripes. But here's the thing about that argument that falls apart instantly. When has the WNBA ever had a player averaging the numbers Clark puts up while simultaneously selling out arenas coast to coast and face more hostility from inside the league than from outside it? The answer is never. Because this isn't about basketball anymore. This is about territory. This is about relevance. This is about veterans watching a 22-year-old rewrite the economic landscape of a league they dedicated their careers to, and instead of embracing the tide, choosing to fight it. Lisa Leslie saw it clearly. The question is, will the people responsible actually listen? Because what's coming next in this story suggests they won't, and the consequences are going to be impossible to ignore. Here's where this stops being about one comment from one legend and starts being about a pattern that has been hiding in plain sight. Because Leslie's statements didn't come out of nowhere. They came after months of incidents that individually could be explained away, but stacked together tell a very different story. The hard foul on Clark early in her career that drew barely a whisper from the league office. The targeting on screens, plays designed not to score, but to send a physical message. The social media pile-on from veteran players after Clark games that weren't about basketball at all. And the almost complete silence from WNBA leadership while all of it unfolded on a national stage. Silence has a message. And the message the league sent, whether they intended it or not, was, this is acceptable. Leslie's genius in speaking out wasn't just the word she used. It was the timing and the positioning. She didn't come out as a Clark superfan. She came out as someone with undeniable skin in this game. Someone who fought for the WNBA survival through seasons, when games were played in front of hundreds of people, not thousands. Someone who understood what it cost to build this league's foundation brick by brick. That framing made it impossible to dismiss. You can call a media personality biased. You can call a fan emotional. But how do you dismiss Lisa Leslie? You can't, and the establishment knew it. What followed her statements was revealing. Instead of veteran players or GMs responding with accountability, the narrative quickly shifted to damage control. Suddenly, the conversation became about team chemistry and league culture. Words designed to make Leslie's concerns sound like an overreaction. But let's look at the numbers, because numbers don't lie. Clark's arrival didn't just spike interest in the Indiana Fever. It changed broadcast deals. It changed jersey sales across the entire league. It brought sponsors to the table that the WNBA had been courting unsuccessfully for years. That is not a divisive player. That is a franchise-level asset for every team in the league, not just Indiana. Every WNBA player making more money this season should understand that equation. And yet, the targeting continued. And the GMs, many of whom are the direct financial beneficiaries of Clark's stardom, said nothing publicly, while their players crossed lines that would have generated immediate consequences in any other professional league. That contradiction is what Leslie was pointing at. It's not just jealousy on the court. It's institutional cowardice in the front offices. And the longer it goes unaddressed, the louder the outside world gets. And the worse it looks for everyone inside the league, who chose silence over accountability. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. Because Leslie didn't stop at calling out the behavior. She named what this moment actually means for the future of the WNBA. And her conclusion was both sobering and unavoidable. There's a version of the story where the WNBA uses this moment as a turning point, where the veterans who targeted Clark look at Lisa Leslie's words and the roar of public reaction behind them, and choose growth over ego, where the GMs who stayed quiet finally speak up and protect the league's greatest commercial asset, where the league office stops issuing whisper-quiet fines and starts enforcing the same standards that would apply in any professional basketball context. That version of the story is still possible, but it requires something the WNBA's power structure has consistently refused to offer Caitlin Clark from day one: respect. Not manufactured respect. Not reluctant, PR-managed acknowledgement. Real, institutional respect for what she has done for this league in a time frame that has no historical comparison. Leslie's words open a door. The question the league now faces is whether anyone with actual power has the courage to walk through it, because the alternative is brutal to think about, but necessary to say out loud. If the pattern continues, if Clark spends the prime years of her career navigating coordinated hostility from within, while the league benefits from her cultural impact without protecting her, the story doesn't end well for anyone. Not for Clark, not for the veterans who let it happen, and certainly not for a league that finally had the mainstream moment it spent 30 years chasing and fumbled it through internal politics and unchecked jealousy. Leslie understood that this was bigger than one player. This was a referendum on whether the WNBA is actually ready to be the league it has been claiming it wants to be. And the answer, the real answer, gets written not in press releases but in behavior, in accountability, in whether the people with power in this league choose the institution over their own egos. Here's what makes this moment matter beyond the drama. Lisa Leslie speaking out gave permission to others, other legends, other former players who built this league, other voices that the current establishment cannot easily dismiss. The dam has a crack now, and once players of Leslie's credibility start asking these questions publicly, the league cannot stuff them back into silence. Clark, for her part, has never asked for anyone to fight this battle for her. She shows up, she performs. She fills arenas and breaks records and carries herself with a professionalism that makes the behavior directed at her look even worse by contrast. But she doesn't have to fight alone anymore, because the greatest player in WNBA history looked at what was happening and decided that her legacy, and this league's legacy, was worth defending. That's not just sports commentary. That's a line drawn in history. And the WNBA will be defined for a long time to come by which side of that line it ultimately chooses. The game isn't just on the court anymore, and everybody knows it. The people who built this league are speaking up. The fans who fill these arenas are watching. And the ones who've been saying this for months, you already knew. If you've been riding with this channel, you know we don't sugarcoat it. We just tell you what's actually happening. Subscribe, share this video with somebody who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments, is Lisa Leslie the hero this story needed?